Thanks for clicking and dragging yourself to Daily Strength. I'm Joe Stowell. I'm delighted that you're with us for these few moments, and it's my prayer that this will be some strength for your journey. Well, we're going to talk today about having a bigger shovel. Our text, 2 Corinthians 9:6, which teaches us, whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and whoever sows generously will also reap generously. You know, it's interesting to me that Jesus taught more about money than any other subject. He consistently talked about the importance of generosity and the deadly danger of greed. To the man who shouted out to Jesus from a crowd, "Hey, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me," Jesus responded by warning, "Watch out. Be on your guard against all kinds of greed. A man's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions." And in Luke 6:38, Jesus taught, "Give, and it shall be given to you, pressed down, shaken together, running over." And to disciples distracted by financial needs, Jesus assured them that the Father knows they need such things as, like food and clothes. He said, "But seek his kingdom, and these things will be given you as well." So God's plan is really simple. Give to gain. In other words, give to the kingdom of God, and God will take care of your needs. I'm reminded of the great 19th century British preacher Charles Haddon Spurgeon. He once learned about this kind of trust while trying to raise money for poor children in London. He went to Bristol, hoping to collect £300, which I have to tell you, in those days was a huge amount of money. He was collecting it for London's homeless children. At the end of the week of meetings, many lives had been changed, and, thankfully, his financial goal had been reached. That night, as he bowed in prayer, Spurgeon was clearly prompted to give the money to a co-laborer of Christ named George Mueller. Spurgeon prayed, "Oh no, Lord, I need it for my own dear orphans." Yet Spurgeon couldn't shake the idea that God wanted him to part with it. Only when he said, "Yes, Lord, I'll do it," could he find any rest in his soul. With great peace, he made his way the next morning to Mueller's orphanage and found the great man of prayer on his knees. The famous minister placed his hand on Mueller's shoulder and said, "George, God has told me to give you the £300 that I've collected." Mueller exclaimed, "Oh, my dear brother, I've just been asking him for exactly that amount." Well, the two servants of the Lord wept and rejoiced together. And when Spurgeon returned to London, you guessed it, he found an envelope on his desk containing more than £300. The Lord had returned the £300 he had obediently given to Mueller, with 300 shillings of interest to boot. Well, Spurgeon learned what another generous believer once said. He said, "I shovel it out and God shovels it in, and he has a bigger shovel than I do." And while the return may or may not be monetary, you can be sure of this, that your heart will overflow with the joy of giving generously and seeing his kingdom prosper. And you don't have to look back 100+ years to discover stories about the overflowing generosity of God to people who cheerfully give their money to the needs of others and God's work. Just ask those who have discovered the joy of giving. They've got plenty of stories to prove the point. And let me invite you to get a few good stories of your own.